The landscape of the British Isles has been an inspiration for our greatest artists, writers and composers. I'm travelling in their footsteps to some of the most beautiful places in these islands. This week I'm travelling through the heart of England, exploring the green fields of Warwickshire, Shakespeare country. Travelling through the Cotswolds with their rolling hills and peaceful villages. Then the Malvern Hills, rising up spectacularly from the Worcestershire plain. Glimpsing the River Severn, winding its way to the sea. And in the north, Derbyshire with its moors and woodlands, a wild expanse of natural beauty. But that's only half the story. Most pictures of Britain celebrate the beauty of our natural landscape, of mountains and valleys, of rivers and lakes and meadows and woodland. But some of our greatest artists and writers have been inspired by a different kind of Britain, by the drama of industry, of factories and mines. And they've helped us to find excitement and beauty in the most unlikely places. So no picture of Britain would be complete without that other skyline which devoured our countryside, even as it dragged us into the modern world. Manchester, once the first city of the Industrial Revolution, a place of darkness, child labour, poverty and disease. But now its hundreds of smoking chimneys have been erased from the landscape. Cotton mills have been converted into canal-side apartments. The grime of industry has been swept away. Manchester has become the pleasure dome of the north. For over a century, people have been coming here to escape the city. One man made this landscape his front line in a war against the march of industry. William Morris, the pioneering designer and political revolutionary, who wrote, "Forget 6 counties overhung with smoke, forget the snorting steam and piston stroke, forget the spreading of the hideous town, think rather of the pack horse on the down." Morris was a passionate defender of the English countryside and its way of life. In his world, it was perpetual summer. When Morris moved to Kelmscott Manor, a fine Tudor house in the South Cotswolds, he was inspired by the trees and flowers around him to create some of his best-loved designs. From the willows overhanging the stream at the bottom of his garden, he got the idea for his famous willow bough pattern, which is still sold in the shops. But there was more to William Morris than designing wallpaper and curtains, all the things he's remembered for today. As he travelled in these villages around Kelmscott, he saw a way of life in the farming communities that seemed to him to offer an antidote, an answer to the social divisions of industrial Britain. Morris believed that in the countryside, people's working lives were in harmony with nature. He argued that factories turned people into machines, denying them happiness and a full life. He was horrified by society's scramble after progress at any cost. Morris thought it was destroying much that was valuable in the past. His love of history led him to set up the Society for the Preservation of Ancient Buildings. St. John Inglesham was the first church of many that he saved from a Victorian makeover. But his campaign was about much more than a love of old buildings. Morris declared war on the Victorian idea that industrial progress was inevitable, the way the world had to be. I mean, he didn't have a hope in hell of changing the course of things single-handedly, but he did challenge the idea that man had the right to do what he wanted with nature, and more important, that man had the right to do what he wanted with other people's lives. Morris put his ideas about how he'd changed the world into a novel called News from Nowhere. It imagined what England would be like in the year 2102 after a revolution. Central government has been abolished, half London has been grassed over, and Manchester has disappeared altogether. His picture of Britain, the perfect Britain, was a kind of Cotswolds run by benign communists. I think he'd have been a bit surprised if he came back now to see the workers' houses, many of them taken over as weekend retreats for the successful. The Cotswolds, extending northeast from Bath to Chipping Campden, with their dramatic empty uplands and lush green valleys, became a favourite destination for artists in the years after Morris discovered Kelmscott. This landscape of farms tucked into steeply wooded hills seemed the best of an old England.